So, welcome to part three. We left off right with the Chinese joining the war and pushing the American and UN forces back down toward the middle of Korea, basically where the whole thing had started. As you can see in the third map there at the bottom, where they ended up was approximately right where the 38th parallel was. And at that point, that's when things start to stagnate in the war. We have some disagreements. MacArthur was eventually fired because of his disagreements with President Truman, and they installed other people to take over, but nothing really happened for most of the rest of the war. Even though it lasted technically for 2 more years, there was not much ground gained or lost by either side, and eventually Dwight Eisenhower, who became the president at this point, finally ended the war, and there essentially was very little gained or lost for either side, aside from, of course, the number of soldiers who were killed. We can see here, I'm about to change the slide, so go ahead and pause if you are not finished writing. But as you can see, even though it wasn't technically a war, it was only a police action, there were still 54,000 American soldiers who were dead at the end of it. Which, as you can see, because there was nothing gained, has been seen as a large waste by a lot of people. But the other major benefit was that the Army was integrated during this period. It was a process that had started during World War II, but really came to fruition and became a very common practice over the course of the Korean War. This is also where we start to see massive increases in military spending. You've all heard of companies like Boeing or Northrop Grumman, companies that supply, basically their entire business is supplying weapons to the government. And this is where you start to see the creation of what we call the military industrial complex, where there are companies that exist almost solely to make money off of taxpayer dollars by creating weapons and things like that. And this is where that really starts to happen. The entire economy was mobilized during World War II, but it's during Korea that we start to see the development of, like I said, the military industrial complex. So that is the end of this lecture. You can go ahead and finish writing and go back and check the others if you're not done, but be ready for a quiz on these things coming up soon.